I leaned my head against the cool, vibration-dampened plastic of the window frame, watching the ground crew scurry like neon-vested ants across the tarmac. This was my sanctuary. 17A to anyone else, it was just a cramped economy seat with a view of a silver wing and a smudge of grease. To me, it was a biological necessity. My doctor's note was tucked into my passport, a quiet acknowledgement that my brain doesn't handle the sensation of flight like everyone else. Without that horizon line, without the visual confirmation of where the sky ends and the earth begins, my inner ear starts a civil war with my nervous system. I didn't choose this seat because I'm a diva. I chose it for survival. "Excuse me, sir, move. This is my seat, do you understand? My window." The voice didn't just interrupt the cabin hum, it shattered it. It was a sharp, grating bell of entitlement that felt like it had been practiced in front of a ring light. I didn't look up immediately. I took a slow, measured breath. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4. I finally turned. There she was. A vision in bubblegum pink, tracksuit, suitcase, and a phone held aloft like a holy relic. Her nails were long, pointed daggers of glittery acrylic, currently aimed directly at my chest. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice coming out at a low, even simmer. "I've found that when people scream, the most devastating thing you can do is speak at a library volume. It makes them feel as loud as they actually are." "You heard me," she snapped, her phone swiveling to catch my face. I could see the scrolling ticker of comments on her screen. She was live streaming this. "I need the window for my content. My followers expect the takeoff shot. It's literally my brand, so chop chop, move to the aisle." 17A, I said, tapping the printed boarding pass on my tray table. "That's me. You're in 17C, the aisle. It's a lovely view of the beverage cart." She didn't laugh, her face contorted into something jagged. "I have clinical anxiety about middle and aisle seats," she said, her voice suddenly adopting a theatrical, shaky vibrato. "You're literally triggering a panic attack by being selfish. Vipers, look at this. Look at this man being an absolute gatekeeper of my mental health." The vipers, I assumed, were the strangers on the internet, currently being fed a curated version of my aggression. "I have a medical requirement for this seat as well," I said calmly. "Perhaps we can both agree that the airline assigned us these seats for a reason. I won't be moving." The shift in her energy was instantaneous. The fake vulnerability vanished, replaced by a cold, predatory sneer. "You're nobody," she whispered, leaning in so close I could smell her overpriced vanilla latte. "I'm verified. I have more influence in one finger than you have in your entire life. You want to play the no game? Fine, let's see how you like being the villain of the week." She flopped into 17C, her movements so violent the entire row shuddered. For the next 10 minutes, she narrated my existence to her phone. She called me a seat hoarder, an aggressive male, and hinted that I was making her feel unsafe. I stayed silent. I didn't defend myself. I didn't look at her camera. I watched a luggage tug drive away. I was the mountain, she was just the wind, and wind eventually blows itself out. Or so I thought. A flight attendant, a woman named Sarah based on her gold name tag, made her way down the aisle. She had that weary, "I've seen 3 mid-air divorces this week" look in her eyes. Karen pounced. "Thank God," she wailed, loud enough for the first 5 rows to turn around. "Finally, this man is harassing me. He's being incredibly aggressive. He's filming me without my consent. She was actually the one filming me, and I feel completely threatened in this row. I need him removed or I need his seat. Now." Sarah looked at me. I didn't look like a harasser. I looked like a man reading a digital book with his hands folded. "Sir," Sarah asked, her voice cautious. "I haven't moved from this seat. I haven't raised my voice, and I haven't touched her," I said, my tone as flat and professional as a dial tone. "I have, however, been filmed and insulted for the last 15 minutes because I declined to give up my assigned window seat." "He's lying," Karen shrieked. "Look at my live, my vipers saw it all, he's a monster." She thrust the phone into Sarah's face. Sarah stepped back, her professional mask slipping for a fraction of a second. "Ma'am, please lower the phone. You cannot film crew or other passengers without permission." "I'm a journalist," Karen screamed. The word journalist was doing a lot of heavy lifting there. "I'm documenting a hostile environment. He needs to go." At this point, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Flight attendants, prepare for gate departure." "We need to settle this now," Sarah said, her voice firm. She looked at me. "Sir, would you be willing to move just to de-escalate the situation? We can try to find you another window, though the flight is full." I looked at Karen. She was smirking. She thought she'd won. She thought the threat of a scene would make the system bend to her will, as it likely always did. "No," I said, "I have a medical directive for a window seat. Moving me would be a violation of the accommodation I cleared with the airline 48 hours ago." However, I paused, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make Karen's smirk falter. If the lady feels threatened by my presence, perhaps she should be the one to disembark for her own safety. I'd hate for her to be trapped at 30,000 feet with someone she finds so terrifying. The row went silent. Sarah blinked. Karen's jaw actually dropped. I'm not leaving, Karen barked. I have a meeting in Vegas. I have a brand activation. Then I suggest you sit down, put your phone away, and stop screaming, Sarah said, her patience finally evaporated. Or I will call the gate agent and have you escorted off for disruptive behavior. Karen sat. She didn't put the phone away, but she lowered it. She spent the next 2 hours typing furiously, her face a mask of concentrated rage. Every few minutes she'd huff or accidentally kick my bag or elbow me when she reached for her water. I ignored it all. I watched the clouds. I watched the sunset turn the sky into a bruise of purple and gold. As we descended into Las Vegas, the city lights flickering like spilled diamonds on the desert floor, Karen turned to me one last time. You think you're so smart, she hissed, her voice low and venomous. I have 2 million followers. By the time we land, you're going to be famous for all the wrong reasons. I've already sent the clips to my editor. Your face is everywhere. Enjoy your quiet life while it lasts, because I'm going to ruin you. She looked so triumphant, so sure of her power. She really believed that her digital army was a real-world weapon. I'm curious, I said, finally turning to look at her fully. I kept my expression neutral, almost bored. Do you usually record your journalism in 4K? Always, she bragged, top-tier quality. Good, I said, because then the police won't have any trouble seeing the part where you reached into my open backpack while I was looking out the window and took my wallet. The color drained from her face, so fast it was almost cinematic. I didn't. You did, I said, my voice as cold as the high-altitude air. About 30 minutes ago, you thought I was sleeping. I wasn't. And neither was the hidden dashcam I keep clipped to my bag strap for exactly this reason. I work in corporate security, Karen. I don't just watch clouds, I watch everything. I didn't actually have a dashcam, but I did have her wallet, which had fallen out of her jacket when she was throwing her tantrum earlier, and which I had placed inside my own bag for safekeeping. Give it back, she whispered, her eyes darting around. Oh, I don't have your wallet, I lied smoothly, the sarcasm finally bleeding into my voice. I was talking about my wallet, which is currently in your pink tracksuit pocket. I saw you take it. And since you've been live streaming, I assume your Vipers saw it too. Or did you tilt the camera away for that bit? She instinctively reached for her pocket. It was empty, of course, but the panic was real. She started frantically patting herself down. Where is it? What did you do? I didn't do anything, I said, leaning back. But the flight attendants are already aware there's been a theft reported in this row. They've radioed ahead. There will be 2 LVPD officers waiting at the jet bridge. You're joking, she breathed. I never joke about security, I said. As the plane touched down with a heavy thud, the cabin erupted into the usual chaos of people standing up before the light turned off. Karen tried to push past me, desperate to get to the front of the plane, to disappear into the terminal. Sit down, ma'am, Sarah's voice boomed over the PA system. We need everyone to remain seated. Authorities need to clear the aircraft first. The entire plane went dead silent. 2 officers in dark uniforms stepped onto the plane. They didn't go to the back. They came straight to row 17. Sir, you reported a disturbance and a theft, the lead officer asked. I did, I said, standing up and stepping into the aisle. I looked at Karen, who was shaking, her phone finally dark and silent in her hand. The lady in 17C has been disruptive the entire flight. She also seems to have lost her wallet. I actually found it wedged in the side of my seat after she was moving around quite a bit. I pulled her wallet out of the side pocket of my bag and handed it to the officer. She claimed I stole it, I continued, my voice dripping with calm, observant irony, but I think she just misplaced it in her excitement to document me. However, she did spend the flight threatening to use her social media following to harass and dox me. I'd like to file a formal report for harassment and filing a false claim with the flight crew. The officer looked at Karen. He looked at her pink tracksuit, her glitter nails, and the phone that was still gripped in her trembling hand. Is this true, ma'am? Karen opened her mouth to scream. She looked at the officer, then at the rows of passengers who were all, every single one of them, holding up their own phones, recording her. The Viper was finally in the pit. She didn't say a word. She just burst into very real, very uncinematic tears as they led her off the plane first. I waited until the cabin was mostly empty before I gathered my things. Sarah, the flight attendant, caught my eye as I walked toward the exit. She gave me a tiny, nearly invisible wink. "Enjoy Vegas, Mr. Hart," she said. "Thanks for the smooth flight." "Always," I said. I walked off that plane and into the bright, hot Nevada sun. My heart was steady. My breathing was deep. I pulled out my phone and sent one last voice note. "Hey Mom, just landed. The roof held up just fine. Actually, it was the strongest thing in the sky." I walked toward the taxi stand, a nobody in a button-down shirt, disappearing into the crowd, leaving the storm far behind me in the back of a squad car.